It's not just making great music. If you make great music and nobody knows about it, nobody is helping you to promote it, you just won't succeed. Guys, the party yesterday was a huge success. It was one of the best carnival parties I ever had, with a lot of my friends, a lot of drinking, and everyone loved my costume. A lot wanted to take pictures in it, so definitely a good party. Just one problem, I'm hungover. Vanessa even more, she's still sleeping and trying to recover. So you definitely know what's coming next. Took a shower, had some pancakes, feeling a tiny bit better. And in today's episode of Hangover Storytime, I just wanted to talk about my time in Berlin. I was there for half a year or maybe even 8 months. And it was a very important time. Berlin is a city where you can really connect with people from the music industry. I think it was 4 years ago, maybe 5. I don't really remember. I have to look it up. I just have to find some pictures from that time. They usually have the date on them. I just found a picture from the 28th of August 2012. So already, so around about 4.5 years. And the picture I found is from my mobile recording studio that I took with me to Berlin, to our apartment that we rented. Every time I wanted to produce, I had to drag the table at least a meter back into the room to be really in the triangle and to be able to produce. But this apartment was really nice, and the living room was extremely huge. It had actually the best acoustics I ever had in a room without any treatment. The room measurement was almost flat because it was so big. The frequencies don't bounce that much back and forth. So I was really lucky having a good sound there without doing anything. But maybe let's just start at the beginning of the story, why we moved to Berlin. Vanessa was studying during that time in Venlo, and she had to do an internship abroad. So she could do one in Germany, and I told her if she's going to Berlin, I will come with her, because Berlin is probably still the best place to do all of the music business things in Germany. Maybe even in the entirety of Europe, at least when it comes to the more underground kind of music. We arrived at the end of August in Berlin. The weather was really nice. We both enjoyed our time there. Vanessa did her internship. Everything went well. And I started to connect with the right people in Berlin. I was already doing music full time, so I had every day, every evening, 24/7, I just had time to meet the right people. I knew one friend that was luckily working in an agency that also had, at least to some part, a booking agency, a really big one, that are doing the Melt Festival, one of the biggest festivals in Germany for electronic music. So he knew probably all of the DJs, all of the label people. I played him my music. He was also producing a bit, so I produced also tracks with him together, and he was learning from me, and he helped me out with contacts into the music scene. So just, I think within the first month, I already got an offer to have one of my, or actually 2 of my tracks released on Kindisch, which is the sub-label of Get Physical. And Get Physical, I'd say, is one of the best and biggest and most known electronic underground labels in Berlin. It's the label of Booker Shade, DJT and Mandy. And having a release on the smaller sub-label for younger artists was a huge deal for me. This release made it very easy for me to get connected in Berlin. If you say you have a release on that label, if you meet someone at a party, they are already impressed. They then want you to produce for them tracks if they're DJs. And that's also how I slowly, step by step, went more into the direction of doing ghost productions for a couple of years. But during the time in Berlin, I was focusing just on my own tracks mostly. I then had a follow-up single on Get Physical itself, and also a remix for Tiger Stripes that went pretty good. And a lot of people always ask me if it was worth it to move to Berlin just for the music, just for the DJing. And I have to say, definitely yes. I don't think it's necessary to live there for a really long time, but at least half a year or a year to get into contact with the right people. Actually staying in Berlin and living there is something I don't really think is that good, because the city is full of producers, full of DJs. So if you try to get a booking in one of the clubs, they usually tell you, yes, okay, you can play for free, but please bring your friends, and you just get 2 drinks for free. Sometimes you get 5 drinks for free, and maybe they also pay your cab, but that's then basically already it. And here in Düsseldorf, where there are less DJs, you make more money. If you DJ abroad, you get even more, and they pay the flight and the hotel. So I'd say Berlin is probably the place where you make the least amount of money as a DJ, just because there are so many of them, and there are also a lot of really good ones. But really never underestimate the power of getting to know the people in person. It just makes a huge difference. If you want to send them another track, another demo, they are way more likely to listen to it if you know them in person. And that's also the reason why when I got the contract for Kindisch, I told them, you know what, it's just 5 or 6 streets. I will come by, grab a coffee with you, and then sign the contract. This way I had the opportunity to just get to know them in person, and it helped me a lot. The same day I got the remix request for another track, and they also listened to 5 or 6 more of my demos. If you're not living in Germany, there are of course other cities that are packed with DJs and music and labels. London is a really big place where a lot of music is happening. Paris actually not that much. Spain has a couple of spots. Ibiza, of course. The US is getting stronger and stronger. You know, New York is a big spot. LA and San Francisco probably also. Well, not that much actually. Maybe the entire Bay Area, yes. So really never underestimate getting to know the people in person. If you send out mails, demo emails to labels, it might be successful, but the second you get a release with a label, and if it's a big label and you want to continue working with them, try to get to know them in person. If it's absolutely not possible, you can still Skype or at least have a phone call with them. It's really important just to talk to the people. It's all about getting connected. You can also try and go to the Amsterdam Dance event or to the Winter Music Conference. These are the places where you can get to know the people. And it's definitely better to go there with someone that already can introduce you to a lot of important people. Just going there by yourself, it's a lot harder to get connected to the people. So try to find someone that believes in your music and is willing to help you, and that is within the industry. I'm just going through some of the other pictures I still have from Berlin. This friend that helped me a lot, that was working for the big booking company, he made one event at the Berlin Tempelhof, that's the old airport, and it was a huge festival. I think Fritz Kalkbrenner was headlining, and also a whole lot of other really big names. It was called the Berlin Festival, also a really good place to get to know the right people. And the after party was at a really cool place. It's right next to the river in Berlin, and there is a swimming pool within the river. It's a bit hard to describe, but it looks amazing. And it was actually the first time I saw Mostly Robot live on stage. That's kind of the native instrument band consisting of Jamie Liddell, DJ Shifty, Tim Exile, Mr. Jimmy and Jeremy Ellis. They are all really good in their specific kind of style. For example, DJ Shifty is more a scratch turntablist guy. Jamie Liddell is doing the vocals, and Tim Exile was doing like weird sound effects with his machines. And I think Native Instrument introduced them as a band to show what's possible with their gear. And they were live performing electronic music. It was really interesting. They also did a lot of cover versions of really known track. It was a whole lot of fun, and also Mode Selector was playing live right after them with an amazing light show. And just a week later, I was introduced to Oliver Hunterman. I don't know if you know him, but if you're into techno music, you will definitely love his music. He's doing a really deep, dark kind of techno music that still has progressive elements in it. And he works a lot together with Dubfire, who is one part of Deep Dish. During my time in Berlin, I also visited a lot of workshops. A friend of mine is doing one, I think, every month. He's inviting like a big star DJ or producer, and then you can just ask them questions. They usually have a presentation. They show how they are doing their live performance or how they are constructing their tracks. And of course, while living in Berlin, I went to a whole lot of nightclubs. It's just so much fun there. The vibe is really good. The clubs in Berlin are extremely special. They're deeply connected and rooted in techno music. So you have a lot of underground techno clubs, a lot of tourists. The clubs are really international. A lot of people just go to Berlin to experience that special club culture. We also experienced a whole lot of the live street music. It was always very crowded, and by the way, this was also the way how I found my singer and songwriter for the All About track. He was just performing in a street band. I loved his voice, just got in touch with him. And I think just a week later, he was in my small mobile studio and we recorded all of the vocals. We were living really close by to the TV tower, so maybe just 4 or 5 minutes of walking, so really in the heart of Berlin. And we experienced quite a lot of food, really good food. Every day we just went outside to grab something to eat. Berlin is way cheaper than Düsseldorf, so for us it was very easily affordable to just eat dinner outside, and also lunch. Usually we almost never cooked at home. And almost at the end of our stay in Berlin, right on New Year's Eve, I think maybe 10 or 15 of my and Vanessa's friends visited us in Berlin. They all stayed in our very tiny apartment. We had, I think, 2 people sleeping on the floor in the kitchen, 6, 7 people just in the living room, and me and Vanessa in our really tiny bedroom, and the rest was staying at another place. So a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. This evening was really a lot of fun. We all started the night together having dinner, and throughout the entire evening more and more people disappeared, and just, I don't know what they did, where they went to, how much they drank. But at the end, I just went back home with Vanessa alone, and the rest slowly came back to our apartment throughout the next day. And I have to say, the one thing I hated most about Berlin, despite not having all of my friends and my family there, of course, was the extreme winter. It was freezing, and Berlin is extremely cold. All of the streets are really wide, so you always have that constant cold wind in your face. I even once found like a piece of ice hanging from our apartment. I think it was this size, I think. If I ever would go again to Berlin, I will definitely pick the summertime and not the half year from August to, I think it was January, February or so. So yeah, that was basically the time in Berlin. All in all, a whole lot of fun, and even more important than the fun was connecting to the music scene, to the music industry. I'm pretty sure without that half year in Berlin, none of what I'm doing daily in the studio, making my living from making music, doing the ghost productions for 2 or 3 years very successfully, all of that wouldn't be possible without the half year that I spent in Berlin. And I'm really glad I went there. So I think that's already it for today. I will just now try and cure my hangover for the rest of the day. I'm just wearing the hat so that you can't see my messed up hair. It was a really wild night. Better, definitely better. A hat has a lot of advantages. Covering your hangover hair is one of them.